The sirens came out of nowhere. One moment, the small gas station on Maple and 3rd was quiet. Just the faint hum of refrigeration units, the click of a lighter, a distant car engine rolling by. The next, the world erupted with screeching tires and red and blue lights flashing across every surface like a warning. 2 patrol cars came in hard, parking crooked across the front of the store. Everyone inside the shop froze, like a switch had been flipped. Darian Knox, a man built like discipline and steel, was just about to pay for a bottle of water. He was in his clean, pressed Army Reserve uniform. His boots were polished, name tag aligned perfectly above his heart, the patches on his arms telling a story of loyalty and years of service. He had just wrapped up a long, exhausting day at Fort Grant and decided to stop for a drink on his way home. But the second the doors burst open, he felt the air change. 2 white officers stormed into the store like they were chasing a ghost. The taller one had sharp cheekbones and an ever-present scowl, Officer Brian Kessler. His partner, shorter and built like a fire hydrant, was Officer Drew Carmichael. Their hands were already hovering too close to their sidearms. Not a good sign. Everyone out. Hands where we can see them. Kessler barked, voice booming through the narrow aisles. Customers scattered like dropped marbles. A woman holding a toddler screamed and dropped a bag of popcorn. A man with a notepad full of lottery numbers stepped aside, palms up. The cashier ducked instinctively behind the counter. And Darian? Darian just raised his hand slowly. "What's going on?" he asked, confused but calm. Kessler didn't answer. He marched right up to Darian, eyes narrow. "You're under suspicion of impersonating a military officer." Darian blinked. "I beg your pardon? I am in the military." Without another word, Carmichael rushed behind him, yanked his arm, and twisted it back so hard his shoulder screamed. Cold cuffs snapped shut around his wrist before he could say another word. The bottle of water slipped from his grasp and rolled across the tiled floor. "You're making a mistake," Darian said, trying to keep his tone even. "Check my ID. My tags are right." Kessler smirked. "Yeah, that's what they all say." They dragged him outside like he was some con artist caught mid-scheme. Forced him to kneel on the scorching sidewalk. Cars slowed. People stared. A few pulled out their phones. Record buttons were tapped. Live stream started. Darian didn't resist. He kept his head up, even with the heat stinging his knees and the cuffs biting into his wrists. The uniform he wore wasn't just clothing, it was a symbol. And now, 2 men in badges were treating that symbol like a Halloween costume. "I'd like to make one phone call," he said quietly. Carmichael chuckled. "To who?" "Your lawyer." "No," Darian said. "My commanding officer." They exchanged a look but shrugged. "Be our guest." Still cuffed, Darian managed to lean enough to pull his phone from his pocket. He opened his contacts and tapped a single name, Colonel Vincent Hartwell. It rang once, then twice. "Hartwell," came the deep voice. "Sir, Sergeant Knox. I've been detained. Officers believe I'm impersonating military. I'm cuffed, kneeling outside a gas station on Maple." There was a pause. Then, "Stay where you are. I'll be there in 15. Darian ended the call and looked up at the officers. "Help's coming." They laughed. 7 minutes later, the atmosphere shifted. 3 black SUVs pulled up silently. No sirens. No screeching. They didn't need to announce themselves. The military doesn't ask permission to take back what belongs to it. Doors opened. Men in dark suits with crisp military insignia stepped out. There was a hush in the air. Even the traffic on the street seemed to pause. Then the rear door of the lead SUV opened, and out stepped Colonel Vincent Hartwell. He was the kind of man you didn't forget. Broad-shouldered, silver-haired, with an aura of authority that made people stand up straighter just by being near him. His uniform looked like it had been sewn from dignity itself. A chest full of ribbons. Medals that told stories of campaigns, sacrifices, and commands that reshaped nations. He walked directly up to the 2 officers. "Which one of you is Kessler?" Kessler raised his hand hesitantly. His smirk was gone. Hartwell didn't yell. His voice didn't need volume. "I'm Colonel Vincent Hartwell. The man you have cuffed on the sidewalk is Sergeant Darian Knox. He's a decorated veteran with over a decade of service. You just handcuffed a soldier in uniform without cause." Carmichael opened his mouth. "We thought he was a..." "Did you ask for identification?" Hartwell snapped. "And no, sir." "Did you verify his base permit? Badge number? Even ask his name?" They were silent. Hartwell stepped closer, his eyes cutting through them. "So you racially profiled one of our own. You've humiliated a U.S. Army soldier because of the color of his skin. You're about to learn what a federal review looks like." A military lawyer stepped forward, handed over papers with quiet precision. You were both placed on administrative leave effective immediately. Surrender your weapons, radios, and badges. Carmichael's mouth dropped. This has to be a mistake. The mistake, Hartwell said, calm and cold, was thinking you had the right to disrespect the uniform without consequence. Then he turned to Darian. Get up, Sergeant. Darian stood slowly. Hartwell helped him, brushing the dust from his shoulders. This should never have happened, Hartwell said, but I promise you, it will never happen again. Applause broke out from the gathering crowd. A woman near the pumps clapped until her palms were red. Someone shouted, That's justice. Kessler and Carmichael were escorted to a waiting car, not in cuffs, but looking like the world had turned on them. And in a way, it had. By morning, the video was everywhere. News outlets ran it nonstop. Sergeant wrongfully detained, the headlines read. Social media exploded. The hashtags #JusticeForDarian and #SaluteSergeantKnox were trending across every platform. Talk shows debated it. Commentators weighed in. Everyone had something to say. The mayor held a press conference by noon. She stood at a podium in front of City Hall, cameras everywhere. I want to extend a personal apology to Sergeant Darian Knox. What happened to him was unacceptable, shameful, and un-American. Officers Kessler and Carmichael have been terminated. Not suspended. Not reassigned. Fired. The crowd roared. Darian watched it all from his couch, a bowl of cereal in his lap. He didn't smile until the mayor added, Sergeant Knox represents the very best of us, grace, discipline, and honor. He deserves our thanks. Not suspicion. 2 weeks later, Darian was invited to speak at the city's police academy. He didn't bring notes. He didn't need them. He stood before a sea of young, nervous recruits, men and women who would one day wear the same badge that had been misused against him. When you put on a badge, he said, you don't get a crown. You get responsibility. Authority without humility becomes abuse. So listen. Respect. Ask before you accuse. You see a black man in uniform? That's not your suspect. That's your brother. The silence that followed was heavy. Then slow, genuine applause. That night, Darian sat on his porch, sweet tea in hand, the summer breeze warm on his skin. The past few weeks had been exhausting, but in the quiet hum of crickets and whine through the trees, he felt something powerful settle in his chest. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't vindication. It was something better, respect. Justice. And a story heard not just by a few, but by an entire nation. And this time, they listened.